Hi, friends. After last week's ordeal, I wanted to do something a little more familiar. Something that I had more confidence in not making me lose my mind. So this week, I'm going to paint on something. And the thing that I'm going to paint on is this sign, wall hanger, banner thingy. It's essentially 3 pieces of wood attached with some string. I don't know what most people make out of these. Maybe like funny signs, or they put family pictures on them, or maybe they glue things on them. I'm not going to do any of those things, but I am going to make it something cute. What can I say about this to start out? It's some kind of wood. It's pretty smooth. It's thin. It's naked. And naked wood just loves to slurp up paint. So if you've watched me paint anything even once, you know that means gesso. I was going to take these all apart while I painted so that I didn't make a mess of the string, but it's actually glued to the wood on the back. So instead I'm going to wrap it in masking tape to protect it. This was maybe not the best idea to do with freshly painted nails. But eventually I got it all wrapped, and then it was a breeze to throw on a coat of gesso. To sketch out my idea, I'm going to use these colored mechanical pencils. I'm trying to see if they're easier to cover with paint than the darker color of a regular pencil. And the jury's still out, but they definitely aren't worse, so I don't hate it. Now, I spent quite a bit of time trying to decide what to put on these panels. I thought about maybe a funny saying, or a trio of things that go together. But I just couldn't think of anything that super inspired me. So I went with what I know. Rainbows. Except let me redo that first rainbow because I got way too ambitious, and I quickly realized I do not understand rainbow geometry enough to make that look good. But these aren't just any old rainbows. These rainbows are slides. Like, wee slides, not PowerPoint slides. And each rainbow is going to have a cute little animal zooming down them. But not that little. Rainbows, cute animals. I seriously considered adding desserts for the whole trifecta of my favorites and having the animals sliding down into a big pile of whipped cream and sprinkles. But I do have a tiny sliver of self-control, so I didn't do that. Once the sketching was done, I went in with Posca paint markers to color each panel in. I didn't want to mix up a ton of colors, and I already know these markers so well from using them so much that I don't have to spend a lot of time swatching. For the animals, I decided to go with black and white animals. In this case, I'm going to use a dark gray, but I wanted animals that used very few colors so that they would stand out more from the colorful background. I didn't want them to have to fight the rainbows for the spotlight. Everyone deserves their own chance to shine. First, we have a skunk. It might not be immediately clear that she's a skunk because she looks remarkably similar to a certain someone else that I drew once. It is definitely not a skunk. I really need to practice drawing animals more. I bought a whole sketchbook that I intended to devote to only practicing drawing cute animals, and I think I've drawn 1 animal. Anyway, this is not Foxy. This is Roxy, a skunk. And she's just having a blast flying down this rainbow. After touching that panel up with a second coat, let's move on to what I hope is obviously a penguin. And this penguin is inspired by one of my students. So we had these giant mountains of snow made by the snowplows in our parking lot at school, and one of my kids slid down one face first in this exact position, yelling, "I'm a penguin!" I think he even had the same expression on his face. Those snow mountains were taller than me, and now they're completely gone. Like, we went from negative 12 degrees to it being in the high 50s. Everything is just gross mud now. So I'm gonna name this penguin Puddles. Except that makes it sound like she pees her pants. The point is, I miss my snow. For the background of these rainbow slides, I had to really fight myself to not add stars or sun rays or something else. But I really wanted the focus to be on the characters, so I kept it pretty simple with just a blue sky and clouds. But I do really like the color of the blue, and I think it works really well with the rest of the picture. Last panel is going to be a panda bear, and I think he might be my favorite of the three. I love panda bears, but what even are they? Like, you see videos of them rolling around and playing, and they're just like giant toddlers in fuzzy pajamas. I just want to squeeze them. They're like giant lumps of cuddles. If I ever saw a panda in real life, I would for sure lose a limb trying to give it a hug, because I am convinced that they're not real animals. They're just cartoons come to life. And as many times as I've seen pandas, I cannot remember their coloring pattern to save my life. I had to keep going back and checking references over and over because I was absolutely convinced their muzzle is black. It's not. And I also forgot that they have this little cropped bra of black, so I added that off camera. After all of the colors were nice and even, I gave each of them faces, because that's sort of important. And there's the facial expression on the penguin I was referring to earlier. And then I added some shadow details to each animal with smaller tip paint markers. And I realized I forgot to name the panda. We'll call him Kevin. I used a really thin paint marker to outline each animal. I wanted to keep the background more backgroundy, not add any details or outlines to it. I kind of like the idea of the least colorful parts of the picture being the most detailed. I messed up a little in a few areas, and while I could have just touched it up, instead I went around the very outside of each character with a slightly thicker outline to cover up my mistakes. The last thing I added was some eye sparkles and nose highlights. Then I took off all the tape. And this is done. I'm really pleased with how this came out. The colors are so pretty together, and I feel like the animals really do pop. My only criticism, because I can't help but find something to dislike, is this foxy skunk. Or skunky fox. Whatever she is, she's a little weird. What do you think? Thanks so much for watching, and let's get to this giveaway. So I finally hit 1,000 subscribers, and to celebrate, I want to give back to you, because I know a lot of you have been with me for a while now. So I propose a little pop quiz. What is my favorite animal? In the comments below, post your answers, then I'll draw a name from everyone who got the answers correct, and the winner will get a $50 Amazon gift card. Good luck, and I'll see you next week.